Hey, it's Renata, and welcome to the newest edition of Unearth Horticulture. We are actually, I am welcoming a special guest. You've met him before. This is Dalton, and we're in Oregon. I am visiting Dalton at the nursery he works at, which is
Robinson Tree Nursery.
Yes, and they specialize in deciduous tree production. So if you haven't heard me use that term before, deciduous literally means that they're woody species or trees that drop their leaves in the fall. They go dormant. So they're not evergreens. Evergreens are not in this category. So yeah, you go ahead.
So we are a liner grower, meaning we propagate our own little baby trees and we grow them up to a certain size, and we're a wholesaler. So we sell to other tree nurseries. We don't sell to the direct public.
Right.
We sell
if you were to come here to this nursery, you couldn't just buy a tree and take it home.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy a lot.
Minimum 50.
Really?
No.
Ooh, maybe I should start selling.
No. There's people who buy 5, so
Whoa.
I know, it's really weird. But we ship all over the United States and parts of Canada, and we supply other tree nurseries with little trees. That's why they're called liners.
And then they can fatten them up.
Yeah, when I say little trees, we mean like 6-foot tall trees, branched, a good looking younger tree.
A good start.
Yeah, we can actually grow a 6-foot tall tree in 1 to 2 years. So it's pretty fast.
They can pump them out.
We shoot them out the door and send them all over the country for all other places to start growing them and get them established to their environments and sell them to the public, whatever they want to do with them.
There's 2 places in Kansas that we both know that actually buy trees from here.
Yeah.
The first one is at Blueville Nursery, which is in Manhattan, where we went to school at K-State.
Yep.
And the other one is Loma Vista. And I'm sure there's other places too that buy. I think Brady's Nursery in Wichita has bought from them in the past. So really, these trees that I am going to show you, we're going to talk about in this video, you could have bought one from this very nursery, which is really cool.
Yeah, came from here, Oregon.
Straight to the source. That's what I'm doing here for you. Okay, let's take a closer look at a few things. We are in a greenhouse right now at Robinson Nursery. Here is Dalton.
Hello, hello.
And we are actually standing in a grouping of Maclura pomifera. What's the variety?
The variety is White Shield.
That's backwards in the
orange.
video. White Shield. I am a huge fan. I guess I should clarify. Maclura pomifera is Osage orange, and it's one of our native trees in Kansas. And there's starting to be more and more varieties bred for ornamental use and for production, and this is one of the newer varieties, White Shield.
Yep, we started growing these just this year at Robinson Nursery, and so this is our first crop here, and we're trying to get more native species out into the industry, such as, Osage orange. A lot of tree nurseries in Kansas will buy these trees from us.
So can you walk us through a little bit about the training process? How old are these trees? Where do they start?
So these trees started in our propagation department. We got them in as tissue culture samples from a tissue culture lab, and in our propagation department, they root them into small plugs.
Yeah.
And then
it's yay big.
Yeah. And then when they get established in the plugs, we plant them here into our 3-gallon pots. Here, I'll just show you our 3-gallon pots with our inserts.
It feels kind of like a weed guard, like a felt weed guard kind of.
We have air pruning pots, and then we have the root pruning bags that help create a good root structure.
So the roots don't circle.
It eliminates the circling roots and whatnot. So we plant them in these 3-gallon pots, and this crop is only 2 years old. So 1 year in propagation, and this is its first year in the 3 gallons. And you can already tell a lot of these are pushing 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
already after 2 years. The growing season in Oregon is really long, and we're able to get fairly decent sized trees in just 1 year. And yeah, that's where they're at right now. At some point they're going to be moved out of the greenhouse and spaced outside in the beds, and then they'll be ready for most of these will be ready for sale this upcoming spring shipping season, and then whatever's not, we'll hold over to the next year and sell the next year.
So when they're spaced, you were mentioning something about a grading system. Are they going to be graded when they're spaced?
These are not.
Okay.
When they're spaced, we typically pull out the taller ones first and put them tallest to shortest, and sometimes the very small ones will either stay in the greenhouse or get moved somewhere else. So they do get separated, but not fully graded.
Yeah.
With these kind of trees, we have 2 grades that come later in the season, and that would be a regular and a premium. So if it's really big and branched and has a thick caliper, we'll grade them as premium trees, and all the others regular.
Well, that's really cool. So they have like these fiberglass rods in them. Are they fiberglass?
Yes, they're fiberglass, and we used to use bamboo, but they are cheaper and easier to use than bamboo.
Yeah.
So
it's really interesting.
we put these stakes in, and then we have a crew that will come in and tape all these trees to the stakes. So this tree is not attached to the stake, but we'll come in and we'll tape them to the stakes, make sure they're straight, and then they'll be sold like this. We take them out of their pots. We keep the liners, the
Reuse
inserts.
those, yeah.
No, we don't reuse them. They go with the customer. We take them out and send them to the customer with the bags on, and then they take them off. And when they take them off, it kind of root prunes the tree. That way it is ready for the customer to plant them and do whatever they need with them. So.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
We are out in the Cercis canadensis field production area, and that is eastern redbuds. And we are scouting and looking for trees with verticillium wilts. It's a new type of bacterial disease that targets Cercis canadensis, or eastern redbuds, and we are going to take them to the lab at OSU to get tested.
Yep.
Pretty fun. I mean, it's a precaution you have to take, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I am out here with Dalton, and we are doing EC pour-throughs on magnolias. You want to tell us a little bit about the process of pour-throughs?
Yeah, so we're testing EC, which stands for electrical conductivity. What we do is we water a plant and let it sit for an hour while there's lots of water in the soil here.
To get it saturated.
And then after an hour, we put it into a container and pour 350 milliliters of water into it. And we collect the water that comes out the bottom of the pot.
Hence the name pour-through.
Exactly. You're displacing the water that's sitting in the pot, and you're collecting it. And we're testing it for our fertilizer. We want to make sure that we have enough fertilizer for the plants to grow, and we also want to make sure we don't have too much fertilizer that's burning the plants.
Right.
And so when we collect that water, the more fertilizer in it, the more electrical current can pass through the water. And so that's what our EC meter is reading. It's
the electrical conductivity.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have a set...
Because little did you know, fertilizers are actually types of salts, minerals that we put into the potting mix or the media we're using. And salts raises the conductivity of water.
Yep.
So salt can also keep plants from doing things like taking up water properly, and that can give them issues for growing, obviously.
So we want the exact ratio of fertilizer for the plants to be healthy and uptake and grow.
Balanced.
And
Still
each
need
plant,
the nutrients.
Yeah, each plant is different too. It's all a science.
Right. So it's okay to have a higher EC or a higher electrical conductivity on some varieties of plants and not on other varieties of plants. So we're looking at magnolias right now.
Yep. This is bad.
This is a very high EC. Usually we're aiming for
a 1 to 2.
A 1 to 2, like a 1.7 or a 1.6 is usually what I'm looking for in greenhouse production. And you can see here some of these magnolias that we took the pour through on. They're looking pretty crispy. So sometimes yellow doesn't always mean they're nutrient deficient. Sometimes it can mean there's moisture imbalance, but also there's like lots of salt.
You can see the salt buildup here in the soil. These plants are really dry and they need a lot of water to flush out all this salt buildup and to lower the amount of fertilizer that's in here because there's too much.
So similarly, if you're growing houseplants, like if you're a houseplant person, not an ornamental grower like we are, then if you over fertilize, that can burn the roots, but you can flush them out by just putting clear water through the pots just repeatedly until you kind of dissolve all of those salts out of the potting mix, if that makes sense. So that's something that's probably going to be we're going to want to do with these magnolias, but this is one sample, so you got to take multiple samples throughout the row to make sure that you get an average or consistent results.
So right now on the magnolias, we are visualizing the salt damage on the plants and realizing that there's too much soil. Therefore, we're doing the pour-throughs to get the numbers from the ECs. That way we can have concrete evidence, prove what is actually going on in the bed, and that will the information will be taken and a plan will be made to flush these plants and
like helps you inform your future strategy on fertilizing this particular crop when they're this age.
Yep.
So, okay, cool. EC breakdown.
Boom.
Done. That's all we have for you on this episode of Unearth Horticulture. I'm Renata Gosen.
I'm Dalton Dunn.
And you've been watching Unearth Horticulture.
Woo!
Hello from Morgan and bye from Morgan.
Yep.
Splash them.
Here's the flamethrower.
This is why I wear dry fit. All right, we are in do you call this a high tunnel or a greenhouse?
We call it greenhouses.
Yeah, it's a greenhouse, kind of makeshift, probably more accurately called a high tunnel.
Yeah,
we are in I'm starting.
Take 15-minute breaks. It literally says that.
These are good trees.
HR. Exclamation plane tree.
Why are they called exclamation?
Because they are tall and skinny for a plane tree.
Like an exclamation point?
Exactly.
Say hello, Dalton. Oh!
3,
2, 1, go. That was way overly animated. Ah!